This is the PlayFootball.com podcast, and I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America. It's Rewind Wednesday as we go back to my interview with NFL legend and Pro Football Hall of Fame wide receiver Raymond Berry, who played his high school football at Paris High School in Texas under his father, Mark Raymond Berry, who didn't show favoritism to his son. In fact, the younger Berry didn't start until he was a senior in high school. He said he learned a lot from his father, things he retained right through his time as the head coach of the New England Patriots.
Well, his strength was simplicity and soundness and mastering fundamentals. And the combination of those qualities and traits was exactly, what I did when I was head coach with the Patriots. We kept it simple, and we really stressed fundamentals, and we also tried one of the things that I learned as a professional athlete was overwork and how to avoid it and the dangers of it. And so when I was a head coach, I had put all those lessons to work, and I made sure our team was never overworked. And we always, went into a game with a full tank of gas.
What was your dad like with you in high school? Was he tough on you? I know he didn't start you till a senior, but what was Dad like with you?
Well, he treated me like he did everybody else. He really, I don't really think he saw personalities. He was bent on putting a team out there that knew how to play the game and keeping it simple and the fundamentals and he believed in a balanced way of approaching offense. He wanted to throw the ball and he wanted to run the ball. And he had learned that to have a balanced offense was the best way to win football games, and so he always strived to do that.
What may shock you is the Hall of Fame wide receiver for the Baltimore Colts, who played 13 seasons in the NFL and retired in 1967 as the NFL's all-time leader in receptions and receiving yards, remembers that his high school receptions were few and far between.
We had the single wing was our formation, and we only had one formation, and we had about 8 or 9 plays. That was all we had, and my dad had me calling the plays for the offensive, and then we also played both ways with defense and offense. And basically what I did in those days was play defense, because we did in the single wing formation. We only had one formation, and I was a left end. And we had just a few pass plays, not much at all. But so running the football and throwing there just every once in a while.
Got it.
Playing defense was our game, and I was a good defensive player, so it worked out pretty good. I was very slow growing, developing physically, and my junior year, I weighed 135 pounds, and I got to play a little bit every once in a while, but not much. My senior year, in those days, usually with a small high school, there were just a few players that were available to play. And so by the time I got to be a senior, I had, a chance to be a starting end, and there wasn't anybody else to compete with, really. So playing defense and running the single wing, we had about 8 plays, and we knew how to run them.
Yeah, and well, hey, isn't that's what you call 3 yards in a cloud of dust, or hopefully you busted one back then, right? That's sort of the way.
Yeah. That's true. That's exactly right. We just hammered the ball on the ground and threw every once in a while.
Do you recall how many catches you might have had in that senior year at all? I mean, I don't know if you probably had over a dozen of them, but do you remember?
I don't really remember. I usually catch, a couple of every game. So
Okay.
I imagine I had around 20.
Okay.
20 catches, probably be the total.
Yeah. And now defensively, what position did you play defensively? I think I might have missed that.
Well, it would, in today's terminology, it would be an outside linebacker on the left side.
Okay.
We called it defensive end in those days. And I worked out of a 3-point stance.
Yep.
So I was down, and usually I would be aggressively charging, and the defense was one defense. That was all we had.
How would you describe yourself as a student of the game back when you were in high school? I mean, do you think, looking back, do you think you were a real good student trying to figure out exactly what you had to do to get an edge on the opponent?
Well, not in high school. In high school, we really executed the strength of what we did in high school was the fact that we didn't have much to execute. We were very basic. And so it's like, somebody handing you a 6-shooter with 2 bullets in it. We knew how to shoot it. And
That's funny. I like that.
But it really was a fact. I didn't really realize it at the time, but because later on in my playing days and then some of my coaching experiences, I learned the contrast, and that is when you overload your team with too many plays and too much formations and too much complexity and complication, it's the way you just end up neutralizing your players' playing ability. And I never did that as a head coach based on my experience and my background and what I had learned about this power of simplicity.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that power of simplicity. I may borrow that once or twice in my future life here. I love that. I love that saying. What about the playing with your teammates? I mean, how much fun did you have back in high school? Those guys that you were playing with. I'm assuming since it was a small town, it was pretty tight. But how would you describe the experience with your teammates back then?
Well, we were very close and very tight. We hung out together, and our football experience, playing together and working together, and having the ups and downs of a high school football season was a bonding type of experience, and I didn't really realize it at the time, and I've been too young to grasp what was going on, but the experience of doing all these things together and, experiencing all these things was really a tremendous unifying experience, and we had a great attitude and feeling among us about everything we were doing.
How would you describe the town of Paris so I can describe this to people? What if you had like a paragraph or a couple of sentences? How would you describe Paris, and then how football fit into the fabric of your community?
Paris, Texas was a great town to grow up in. It was heavily agricultural at that time. The city itself was surrounded on all sides by farms and growing crops, in particular cotton. And the population was made up of people who were down to earth and very basic in everything they were doing. It was, I look back on it later, it was just an ideal place to grow up. The simplicity of it and the character of the city and the people in it was really outstanding. And that was the environment, that I grew up in, and without really realizing, the power of it.
One of the unique things about Paris is that the town has two major football figures. Aside from Berry, College Football Hall of Fame coach Gene Stallings hails from the town. Stallings was a freshman when Berry was a senior. Berry and Stallings had the distinction of facing off against each other as NFL head coaches in the 1986 AFC-NFC Hall of Fame game that was played in conjunction with that year's Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. The game served as the kickoff to the NFL exhibition season, and it remains the only time that two men from the same high school have matched wits against each other in an NFL game, even if it was just an exhibition. Berry was coming off a great year, having led the New England Patriots to their first ever Super Bowl, where the Pats lost to the Chicago Bears 46-10 in Super Bowl 20. That earned Berry the Coach of the Year honors, and Stallings was entering his first year as the head coach of the St. Louis Cardinals. Berry and Stallings both enjoyed the highly unusual matchup, as did the town. A local travel agency even put up a billboard promoting the travel to the game in Canton. The agency called it the Great Paris Showdown.
I'm not even sure that we were aware of the significance of it, to tell you the truth, but it was totally defying the odds, wasn't it?
And that's my Rewind Wednesday interview with NFL legend Raymond Berry. Hey, coaches, don't forget to check out playfootball.com for some great resources to help you improve in the coaching profession. Next week on playfootball.com's Rewind Wednesday, I'll talk with NFL legend and Hall of Famer Mean Joe Green. I'm Jeff Fisher of High School Football America, and you've been listening to the playfootball.com podcast.